A kind waitress took a wounded homeless man in the rain to her home, not knowing he was the most dangerous mafia boss in the city who had always watched and wanted her. Before this gets juicier, and it will, show some love with a like. Hit subscribe, because we're building the most badass romance community YouTube has ever seen. You're gonna want a front row seat. The rain hammered Seattle's streets like bullets on pavement, and Emma Chen wiped down table 12 for the third time that hour. Graveyard shift at Romano's diner. Glamorous, right? At 24, she'd imagined her life differently. But here she was, serving coffee to insomniacs and taxi drivers at 3 in the morning, her nursing school dreams gathering dust with her unpaid bills. Then she saw him through the window. A man collapsed against the alley wall, blood mixing with rainwater, streaming down his face. Most people would have called 911 and stayed inside where it was warm and safe. Emma wasn't most people. Stupid? Maybe. But she'd been raised by a woman who fed stray cats and homeless veterans, and sometimes genetics are stronger than common sense. Don't do it, girl, I'm telling you right now. But did she listen? Of course not. She grabbed her coat and ran out into the storm. Up close, he looked worse. Designer suit ruined, a gash across his temple, and those eyes. Even half-conscious, they were the color of winter steel and twice as cold. He was maybe 40, dangerously handsome in that way that should come with a warning label. Sir, can you hear me? Her hands shook as she checked his pulse. Strong. Too strong for someone who looked this bad. He grabbed her wrist with surprising force. Don't call police. His voice was gravel and smoke. Red flag? Honey, this was a whole parade of red flags. But Emma saw the desperation in his eyes, and against every ounce of sense she possessed, she nodded. Getting him to her apartment, a fourth-floor walk-up in a building that had seen better decades, was like dragging a wounded bear. He was 6'3" of solid muscle, and she was 5'4" of stubborn determination. By the time she got him onto her couch, her arms were shaking. She cleaned the wound with hands steadier than her racing heart. The cut was deep but clean. A knife, not a fall. Someone had done this to him. You need stitches. A hospital. No hospitals. He caught her hand again, gentler this time. What's your name? Emma. Emma. He said it like he was tasting wine. Vincent. My name is Vincent. She didn't know it yet, but she'd just invited the devil into her home, and he'd been waiting for her to open the door for 3 long years. Vincent Russo woke to the smell of coffee and cinnamon rolls, homemade if his nose wasn't lying. For a man who'd spent the last 15 years sleeping with a gun under his pillow, this was disorienting as hell. He cataloged his surroundings with practiced efficiency. Small apartment, maybe 600 square feet. Worn furniture but immaculately clean. Medical textbooks stacked on a desk. Photos of an Asian woman who looked like Emma, probably her mother. And Emma herself, moving around the tiny kitchen like a hummingbird, completely unaware she was being watched by an apex predator. Most people couldn't be in the same room as Vincent without feeling it. That weight in the air, the instinct that screams danger. Emma hummed while she cooked. She'd saved a stranger's life without hesitation, brought him into her home, and now she was making him breakfast like he was some wounded puppy instead of the man who ran the entire Pacific Northwest underworld. God, she was magnificent, and she had no idea. You're awake. She turned, and that smile. Jesus. That smile could have brought men to their knees. It certainly had that effect on him. How's your head? Better, thanks to you. He sat up slowly, testing his body. Someone had gotten lucky with that knife. If it had been 2 inches to the left, Emma would have found a corpse in that alley. You're studying to be a nurse? She blinked, surprised. The textbooks. Yeah, was. Financial aid fell through last semester. She shrugged like it didn't matter, but he saw the pain in her eyes. Dreams deferred hurt worse than knife wounds. Why'd you help me, Emma? She brought him coffee, and their fingers brushed. The touch was electric. He saw her feel it too, saw the confusion in her eyes. Chemistry is a funny thing. Sometimes it hits you like lightning, and sometimes it hits at the worst possible moment. This was definitely the latter. My mom always said we help people who need it. No questions asked. She sat in the chair across from him, maintaining careful distance. Smart girl. Not smart enough, but smart. Are you in trouble, Vincent? Oh, sweetheart. He wasn't in trouble. He was the trouble. But looking at her earnest face, those dark eyes full of genuine concern, he couldn't tell her that. Not yet. Not when she'd given him something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Nothing you need to worry about. He stood, and she immediately jumped up, concerned he'd fall. The instinct to care for others was bone deep in her. It was going to get her killed one day. He'd make sure that day never came. I should go. At least let me check your stitches first. She moved closer, and Vincent held perfectly still as her fingers gently probed the wound. She smelled like vanilla and hope, two things that had no place in his world. But he breathed her in anyway, memorizing every detail of this moment, the way her brow furrowed in concentration, the tiny scar on her chin, the gold cross on a chain around her neck. Looks good. You heal fast. She stepped back. I wrote down some instructions. Keep it clean, watch for infection. And Vincent? Maybe next time someone tries to kill you, duck. He laughed. Actually laughed. When was the last time he'd done that? I'll remember that. She walked him to the door and Vincent paused. He should leave and never look back. Cut all ties. Emma Chen was a complication he didn't need, and being near him put a target on her back the size of Texas. But Vincent Russo hadn't built an empire by walking away from things he wanted. And he'd wanted Emma for 3 years, since the first time he'd seen her defending a homeless veteran from drunk college boys outside this very diner. She'd been fierce and fearless, and everything good he'd spent his life destroying. Thank you, Emma, for everything. He handed her $500 bills. Her eyes went wide. I can't take this. Consider it a consultation fee for the medical care. He pressed the money into her hand, and this time he let his fingers linger just a moment too long. And Emma? Be careful. The man who did this is still out there. He left before she could argue, before he could do something stupid like tell her the truth. That man wasn't out there. He was in a shipping container at the docks, and he'd be lucky if Vincent let him die quickly. No one touched Vincent Russo and lived. But more than that, no one came within 50 feet of Emma Chen without his permission. She just didn't know it yet. She'd been his to protect from the moment she'd thrown that first punch 3 years ago. Now she'd touched him, cared for him, and everything had changed. She'd invited the monster in, and monsters don't leave once they've found something worth keeping. Emma stared at the money for a full minute after Vincent left. $500. That was 2 weeks' worth of shifts at Romano's, 3 months behind on her student loans. The difference between keeping her apartment and moving back to the shelter where she'd spent most of her childhood. Consultation fee my ass, she muttered. The man was either crazy generous or crazy guilty. Probably both. She should have felt relieved he was gone. Instead, her apartment felt emptier than usual, like he'd taken up more space than his physical presence suggested. Which was ridiculous. She didn't even know him. Didn't know why someone had tried to kill him. Didn't know why he'd refused the hospital. Didn't know why her hands still tingled where he'd touched them. What she did know was that Vincent was dangerous. You don't get eyes that cold, that calculating, by living a normal life. And you definitely don't get stabbed in an alley by accident. Smart move would be to forget him, cash the money, and move on. Emma had made a lot of smart moves in her life. This wasn't going to be one of them. 3 days passed. Emma worked her shifts, studied her textbooks, because giving up on nursing school was giving up on her mother's last wish, and tried not to think about winter gray eyes and a voice like whiskey. She mostly failed. On the 4th day, Marcus Webb walked into Romano's. Now, I need you to understand something about Marcus Webb. In a city full of predators, he was the kind that smiled while he gutted you. 45, handsome in that slick way that oil is handsome, shiny and toxic. He wore a suit that cost more than Emma's car, and he looked at her like she was a particularly interesting bug he was deciding whether to step on. Emma Chen? He slid into booth 7, Vincent's booth, she realized with a chill. Can I get you some coffee? She kept her voice steady, but her hand moved instinctively to the panic button under the counter. Dave, the night cook, was ex-military. He'd come running. I'm looking for a friend. Tall, dark hair, might have been injured recently. Word is he was seen in this area a few nights ago. Marcus smiled, showing too many teeth. You haven't seen anyone like that, have you? Every instinct screamed at her to lie. No, sorry. Funny. He pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. Vincent, looking dangerous and devastating in a tuxedo, standing next to men in suits who had organized crime written all over them. Because my sources say otherwise. Emma's blood went cold. Not from fear, okay, partly from fear, but mostly from rage. She'd saved a man's life, and now she was being threatened for it. I don't know what your sources told you, but they're wrong. Now, are you ordering something, or are you leaving? Marcus studied her for a long moment. Then he laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You've got spine. I like that. But here's the thing, sweetheart. Vincent Russo is a very dangerous man, and people who help him have a tendency to disappear. For your sake, I hope you're telling the truth. He left a $100 bill on the table and walked out. Emma waited until his car disappeared before her hands started shaking. Vincent Russo. She typed the name into her phone with trembling fingers. The results made her stomach drop. Alleged crime boss. Suspected of murder, racketeering, money laundering. Photos of him at charity galas and crime scenes. Articles speculating about his empire and its bloody foundation. She'd saved the life of a mafia boss. She'd touched him, cared for him, taken his money, and now someone new. She should have been terrified. Should have been planning to leave the city, change her name, disappear. Instead, all she could think was, he's in danger. Marcus hadn't been asking about Vincent because he wanted to thank him. He'd been hunting. Emma Chen had made a lot of questionable decisions in her 24 years. She was about to make another one. She grabbed her coat and headed for the door. Dave called after her, but she was already gone, running into the night to save a man who probably didn't need saving. Or maybe he did. Maybe even monsters need someone to care whether they live or die. Either way, she was about to find out exactly how deep this rabbit hole went. And honey, it went all the way to hell. Vincent knew Marcus Webb had found Emma before his security team reported it. He'd had eyes on her since the moment he'd left her apartment. 2 of his best men rotating shifts, invisible shadows keeping her safe. So when Marcus walked into Romano's diner, Vincent was watching through the live feed on his phone, and the rage that filled him was biblical. Get me a location on Webb, now. His voice was ice, and his men scattered like leaves in a storm. Nobody wanted to be near Vincent when he looked like this. Antonio Russo, his younger brother and second in command, set down his whiskey. Marcus is pushing, testing boundaries. He knows you're vulnerable. I'm not vulnerable. Vincent's hand tightened on the phone as he watched Emma's face on the screen. She was scared but trying to hide it. Brave little thing. Too brave. You've been distracted for 3 years. Everyone knows it. Tony leaned forward. And now they know why. She's beautiful, Vince. But she's a liability we can't afford. Vincent's gun was in his hand before his brother finished speaking. Say that again. Tony raised his hands, unconcerned. They'd held guns on each other before. Brotherhood in their world was complicated. I'm saying what you already know. Marcus will use her to get to you. So will the Yakuza, the Colombians, every enemy we've made in 15 years. She's not safe, and keeping her alive means going to war. Then we go to war. Vincent lowered the gun. Nobody touches her. Pass the word. Emma Chen is under my protection. Anyone who looks at her wrong answers to me personally. Jesus, Vince, you've lost your mind over a girl who doesn't even know you exist. But that was where Tony was wrong. Vincent had been watching Emma for 3 years. He knew her schedule, her dreams, the way she helped elderly customers with their coats, and split her tips with the cook who had 3 kids and a sick wife. He knew she visited her mother's grave every Sunday and cried when she thought no one was watching. He knew her. She just didn't know him. Yet. His phone rang. The secure line. Boss, we've got movement. The girl just left the diner. She's headed toward Cathedral District, your territory. Vincent's heart stopped. Is she being followed? Negative, she's alone. And boss? She's looking for something. Or someone. She was looking for him. Emma, with her nursing textbooks and her good heart, was walking into the lion's den to warn the lion. The woman had courage that bordered on insanity. Pick her up. Gently. Bring her to the estate. Vincent stood, already moving. And someone find Marcus Webb. I want to know where he is and who he's been talking to. Now. 20 minutes later, Emma Chen was escorted, politely but firmly, into Vincent's study by 2 apologetic bodyguards who looked like they'd rather fight a grizzly bear than upset the tiny waitress currently glaring at them. You can't just kidnap people! She spun on Vincent the moment they were alone. What the hell, Vincent? Or should I call you Mr. Russo, alleged crime boss? God, she was magnificent when she was angry. Her eyes flashed like lightning, and she'd actually kicked one of his men in the shin. The man was 6'5" and trained in 6 forms of combat. He'd apologized to her. You were walking into a war zone looking for me. What did you expect me to do? Maybe not have your goons grab me off the street? They're bodyguards, not goons, and they probably saved your life. Vincent poured himself a scotch, needing the burn to center himself. Marcus Webb came to see you. How did you... She stopped. You were watching me. You've been watching me. The anger drained from her face, replaced by something worse. Hurt. Since when? He could lie. Should lie. Instead, he told her the truth. 3 years. Since the night you punched those fraternity boys for harassing a veteran. You broke one of their noses. Emma sat down hard. 3 years. You've been stalking me for 3 years. Protecting you. Vincent moved closer but kept his distance, letting her process. Do you know what you did that night? You embarrassed the son of a city councilman. He wanted revenge. I made sure he forgot the idea. You. What did you do to him? Nothing permanent, unlike what he planned to do to you. He saw her swallow hard. The world you live in, Emma, the one where good people help strangers and justice prevails, it's not real. Not for people like you who shine too bright. That world is surrounded by darkness, and I've been standing between you and it for 3 years. She looked at him like he was a puzzle she couldn't solve. Why? You don't know me. I know you better than you think. I know you want to be a nurse because your mother died of cancer, and the nurses at hospice were the only ones who made her comfortable. I know you send half your paycheck to the shelter where you grew up. I know you're afraid of thunderstorms, but you ran out into one to save a stranger. Stop. Her voice cracked. This is insane. You're insane. Probably. He knelt in front of her chair, finally letting himself be close. But Emma, Marcus knows about you now. That means everyone knows. And the only way to keep you alive is to make it very clear that you belong to me. That hurting you means death. Do you understand? She stared at him, and Vincent saw the moment she understood the position she was in. Saw the fear, the confusion, and underneath it all, something else. That same electric current that had passed between them in her apartment. I don't belong to anyone. But her voice shook. I just wanted to warn you, that's all. You warned me. Now let me keep you safe. He reached for her hand slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Stay here tonight. Tomorrow we figure out how to end this. But tonight, you're safe. Emma looked around the study. Leather and books and expensive art. A world so far from Romano's diner it might as well be another planet. Then she looked at him, this dangerous man who'd been watching her for 3 years and made a choice that would change everything. One night, then I'm going home. One night, Vincent agreed, knowing it was a lie. Emma Chen had walked into his world, and he was never letting her leave. The monster had his treasure now. And he'd burn the whole city down before he gave her up. The Russo estate wasn't what Emma expected. Oh, it was massive, the kind of mansion you see in movies about old money and older secrets. But Vincent's study was lined with books, real books that looked read and loved. Medical journals sat on his desk next to reports with ominous titles. A chessboard mid-game occupied the side table. This wasn't the lair of a mindless thug. This was the office of a strategist, a thinker. Somehow that made him more terrifying. You read medical journals? She picked one up, needing something to do with her hands that wasn't punching him or other things her traitorous body wanted to do. Know your enemy, know yourself. Vincent poured her wine without asking if she wanted it. She did. The human body is a machine. Understanding it helps in my line of work. Your line of work being organized crime? My line of work being staying alive in a world where everyone wants me dead. He handed her the glass and their fingers brushed again. That electricity. The medical knowledge is a bonus. I knew your mother had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I knew the nurses who helped her were from St. Catherine's hospice program. I knew you applied there after her death and were rejected for lack of experience. Would you like to know why you were really rejected? Emma's hand tightened on the glass. Enlighten me. The head of admissions, Dr. Patricia Morrison, has a gambling problem. She takes bribes to reject qualified applicants and accept rich idiots who barely pass their boards. He pulled out a file, slid it across the desk. She rejected you because a councilman's daughter wanted that position, and the councilman paid $20,000 for it. Emma opened the file with shaking hands. Bank records, emails, recorded phone calls, evidence that would destroy Dr. Morrison's career. How did you get this? I have resources, and I was angry. Nobody keeps Emma Chen from her dreams if I can help it. He said it so matter-of-factly, like ruining someone's life was just another Tuesday for him, which it probably was. You investigated the nursing program because of me? She couldn't process this. Couldn't reconcile the man who'd been watching her with the man sitting across from her, looking at her like she was something precious. I investigated everything about your life, Emma. Every obstacle, every person who hurt you, every system that failed you. I know about the foster homes before your mother got custody. I know about the high school counselor who told you to aim lower because girls like you don't become nurses. I know about the landlord who tried to evict you last month because he wanted to rent to someone who'd sleep with him for lower rent. Vincent's voice went cold. He's selling his properties and moving to Florida, voluntarily. You're insane. But she was reading the file, seeing the proof of corruption that had stolen her future, seeing 3 years of invisible protection she'd never known she had. This is insane. This is love, Emma. At least it's the only kind I know how to give. Her head snapped up. Love? You don't love me. You don't even know me. I know you drink your coffee with too much cream and no sugar. I know you always leave Romano's through the back exit because the front door sticks and you don't want to bother Dave to fix it. I know you visit your mother's grave every Sunday at 2 p.m. and you bring fresh flowers even though you can barely afford groceries. He moved around the desk and Emma's heart hammered. I know you're afraid of thunderstorms because you were locked in a closet during one when you were 7. I know you still sleep with the nightlight your mother gave you. I know every beautiful, brave, impossible thing about you, Emma Chen. So yes, I love you. I've loved you for 3 years. The silence stretched between them like a wire pulled too tight. Emma's mind raced. This was wrong, obsessive, dangerous. Everything about Vincent Russo was a red flag wrapped in designer suits and lethal competence. But he'd protected her. For 3 years, while she'd struggled and fought and barely survived, he'd been there, invisible, keeping her safe from dangers she'd never known existed. You're a crime boss. She stood, needing distance. You hurt people. Kill people, probably. Yes. No hesitation, no justification. I'm not a good man, Emma. I stopped being good the day my father was murdered in front of me when I was 16. I built this empire on blood and fear, and I've done things that would give you nightmares, but everything I've done, every choice I've made for 3 years has been about keeping you safe, about making a world where you can exist without being destroyed by it. I didn't ask for that. No, you asked for nothing. You've never asked for anything in your entire life, and that's the problem. He stepped closer, and she didn't back away. You save everyone, Emma. Who saves you? I save myself. But her voice cracked, because it was a lie. She'd been drowning for years, and she'd never let anyone see it. Except somehow, Vincent had seen. He'd always seen. Not anymore. His hand came up slowly, cupping her face like she was made of glass. Let me save you. Let me give you everything. Nursing school, a life without fear, a future where you don't have to choose between rent and food. All of it. Just stay. She should say no, should run, should call the police, except what would she tell them? That a man had protected her without her knowledge and wanted to continue? That he'd eliminated threats she'd never known existed? That his touch made her skin burn and her heart race, and she couldn't tell if it was fear or something far more dangerous? 1 week. The words left her mouth before her brain approved them. I'll stay 1 week. You'll end whatever this war with Marcus is, prove you can keep me safe, and then I decide. If I want to leave, you let me go. No following, no watching, no protection. You let me disappear. Vincent's jaw tightened. She was asking him to give up the only thing he'd cared about in years, the only light in his darkness. But he nodded. 1 week. But Emma, by the time those 7 days are up, you won't want to leave. We'll see. She finished her wine in one swallow, needing the courage. Where do I sleep? Guest room. East wing. Or, his eyes darkened. My room. Your choice. The air between them could have powered the whole city. Emma felt it. That pull. That hunger. That insane chemistry that made no sense. He was a criminal, a killer, a man who'd been watching her like some obsessive stalker for 3 years. She should hate him, but standing there, looking into eyes that had seen her when no one else had, that had protected her when no one else would, she didn't feel hate. She felt something far more terrifying. She felt seen. She felt safe. She felt alive. "Guest room," she whispered. "For now." Vincent smiled, slow and devastating. "For now is enough." He showed her to a bedroom that was bigger than her entire apartment, left her with clothes that fit perfectly, because of course he knew her size, and closed the door between them. Emma stood in the quiet luxury and finally let herself shake. She'd just agreed to stay with a mafia boss. For a week. In his home. Where anything could happen. She looked at her phone. 12 messages from Dave, worried. 3 from her friend Sarah, asking about her shift. 1 from her landlord about next month's rent she couldn't pay. The real world, waiting for her outside these walls. But inside these walls was Vincent Russo, the most dangerous man in Seattle, who loved her in the most twisted way possible. And God help her, part of her wanted to see where this impossibly insane situation led. Just for 1 week. What could possibly go wrong? Oh, honey. Everything. Everything was about to go spectacularly wrong. But sometimes you have to walk into the fire to find out if you'll burn or if you'll become something fireproof. Emma was about to find out which one she was. Marcus Webb had made a career out of reading people, and what he read in Vincent Russo's eyes when he'd mentioned Emma Chen was simple: obsession. The kind that made men stupid. The kind that got them killed. And in Marcus's line of work, professional problem solver for the Yakuza, stupid men were profitable men. He sat in his downtown penthouse, studying the photos his team had compiled. Emma Chen, 24, waitress, nursing school dropout. Pretty in that wholesome way that made men want to corrupt her. Nothing special on paper, but to Vincent? She was everything, and that made her valuable. She's at the Russo estate. His lieutenant, a cold-eyed woman named Takara, handed him a tablet. Walked in voluntarily. Our sources say Russo has tripled security since she arrived. No one gets within 2 blocks without being spotted. He's protecting his weakness. Marcus smiled. This was almost too easy. Almost. Vincent hadn't survived 15 years as Seattle's top crime boss by being careless. What do we know about her background? Foster care until age 12, then raised by single mother who died 3 years ago. No siblings, no close family, few friends. Works double shifts, keeps to herself, clean record, never even had a parking ticket. Takara scrolled through more files. She's nobody, Marcus, but Russo has been watching her for 3 years, and 2 nights ago, someone attacked him near her diner. Our intel says she saved his life. 3 years. Vincent had been vulnerable for 3 years, and Marcus was just finding out now. The Colombians must be furious. They'd been trying to kill Russo for months and didn't know his weakness was serving them coffee. I want everything about Emma Chen. Medical records, school transcripts, every person she's ever known. Find the pressure points. Marcus stood, looking out at the city lights. And send a message to our friends in the Colombian cartel. Tell them we found Vincent Russo's heart. Now we just have to cut it out. Meanwhile, in the Russo estate, Emma couldn't sleep. The bed was too soft, the room too quiet, and her mind wouldn't stop racing. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Vincent's face when he'd said he loved her. The absolute certainty in his voice, like it was a fact of the universe rather than an insane declaration. She got up, pulled on the silk robe someone had left for her, again, perfect fit, and wandered the halls. The estate was enormous, full of expensive art and old-world elegance. Guard stations at every corner, men in suits with earpieces who nodded respectfully as she passed. She was a prisoner in a velvet cage, and she didn't even know what she was being protected from anymore. Vincent's study door was open, light spilling into the hallway. She shouldn't go in, should go back to bed, sleep, wake up and demand he take her home. But her feet carried her forward anyway, and there he was. He'd traded his suit for jeans and a black t-shirt, and somehow that made him more dangerous. Less businessman, more predator. He was on the phone, speaking rapid Italian, and the language sounded like music and violence all at once. When he saw her, his expression softened in a way that made her chest tight. "I'll call you back." He ended the call. "Can't sleep?" "Your house is too quiet. I'm used to sirens and neighbors fighting. She stepped inside, drawn to him like gravity. Who are you talking to? My contacts in Italy. Marcus Webb has connections to the Nakamura Syndicate, Yakuza. They've been trying to move into our territory for months. I needed to know how deep his ties run. He set his phone down. Deep, as it turns out. This isn't just about territory anymore, Emma. Marcus wants a war, and you're the match that lights it. Then give me to him. She said it before she could stop herself. Tell him I mean nothing to you. Let me go home. End this before people die. Vincent was across the room in 3 strides, his hands framing her face with surprising gentleness. I would burn this city to ash before I let anyone touch you. Do you understand? Marcus wants a war. He'll get one, but he won't get you. People will die because of me. People die every day in my world. They just won't die for no reason anymore. They'll die because they threatened you, and that gives their deaths meaning. His thumb brushed her cheek, and Emma's breath hitched. I've spent 15 years building an empire with no purpose beyond power and survival. You gave me a reason, Emma. You gave me something worth protecting beyond myself. I won't apologize for that. You're insane. But she wasn't pulling away, wasn't running. Her hands were on his chest, feeling his heartbeat, strong and steady. Probably. His eyes dropped to her lips. Tell me to stop, and I will. Tell me you want to leave, and I'll take you home right now. Consequences be damned. But Emma, if you stay, if you choose this, choose me. I need you to understand what that means. It means you're mine. It means I'll kill anyone who looks at you wrong. It means I'll give you everything, but I'll demand everything in return. So tell me, what do you want? She should want to leave. Should want her normal life back, her crappy apartment and double shifts and lonely nights. Should want nothing to do with this dangerous, obsessive man who'd been watching her for 3 years. But standing there, seeing herself reflected in his eyes like she was something precious, something worth burning the world for, she wanted something else entirely. She wanted to be wanted like this. She wanted to matter. She wanted to know what it felt like to be someone's entire world. I want. She rose on her toes, closing the distance between them. I want you to kiss me, just once, so I know if this is real or if I've lost my mind. Vincent's smile was slow and devastating. Oh, Emma, you've definitely lost your mind, but so have I. He kissed her like she was air and he was drowning, like she was the answer to every question he'd never asked. His hands tangled in her hair, and Emma forgot how to breathe, forgot how to think, forgot everything except this. The taste of him, whiskey and danger. The feel of him, solid and real and impossibly alive. The way he held her like she was both fragile and fierce, something to be protected and claimed all at once. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Emma knew with absolute certainty that she'd just made the most dangerous decision of her life. But looking at Vincent, seeing the raw hunger and fierce devotion in his eyes, she couldn't bring herself to regret it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. 1 week, she whispered against his lips. You have 1 week to prove this isn't just obsession, that it's something worth the chaos it's going to cause. 1 week. His hands tightened on her waist. But Emma, I've waited 3 years for you. By day 7, you'll be begging to stay forever. She left him then, before she could do something really stupid like ask him to make good on that promise right now. Walked back to the guest room with shaking legs and a racing heart, knowing sleep was impossible. Because Vincent Russo had just kissed her like he meant it. And the world outside was preparing for war because of it. Somewhere in the city, Marcus Webb was planning. The Colombians were mobilizing. The Yakuza were watching. All of them circling like sharks, smelling blood in the water, waiting for the moment to strike. And Emma Chen, waitress and nursing school dropout, was standing at the center of a storm that was about to tear Seattle apart. She had 6 days left in her week. 6 days to decide if she was strong enough to love a monster. 6 days before everything went straight to hell. The clock was ticking. And honey, time was not on her side. Day 2 of Emma's week started with gunfire. Nothing says good morning quite like automatic weapons at dawn, right? She jolted awake to the sound of shattering glass and men shouting, and her first instinct, God love her, was to run toward the danger, not away from it. Nurse instinct trumps survival instinct every time. Vincent burst through her door, gun in hand, looking like every dangerous fantasy she'd ever had. Stay down! What's happening? But she already knew. Marcus Webb wasn't the patient type. They hit 3 of our warehouses overnight, burned 2 to the ground. This is retaliation. He pulled her up, already moving. We need to get you to the safe room. I'm not hiding while people die. She grabbed his arm, and even in the chaos, she saw his expression soften. Emma, these people are dying to protect you. The least you can do is let them do their job. He kissed her forehead, quick, desperate. Please. She hated it, but she nodded. He led her through hidden corridors she hadn't known existed, downstairs that descended deep into the earth. The safe room was exactly what it sounded like. Reinforced steel, enough supplies for a month, and absolutely no way out without Vincent's biometric scan. I'll come back for you. He was already leaving. Vincent? He turned, and Emma did something that surprised them both. She grabbed his face and kissed him hard. Don't die. I still have 5 days to decide if I like you. His laugh was rough. That's motivation enough. Then he was gone, and Emma was alone in a box underground while war raged above her. Hours passed. Emma counted them by her heartbeat, by the distant tremors that shook the walls, by the absolute silence that was somehow worse than the noise. She'd spent her childhood in small spaces, locked closets and cramped foster homes, and every minute in that room was a battle against panic. When the door finally opened, she nearly screamed. But it was Vincent, covered in blood that she prayed wasn't his, looking exhausted and grimly satisfied. It's over, for now. He helped her up, and she immediately started checking him for wounds. Nurse instinct, remember? Emma, I'm fine. You're covered in blood. None of it's mine. He caught her hands, stilling them. Marcus sent 15 men. We captured 8. The rest won't be a problem anymore. He's making his point. He can reach us anywhere. But he didn't count on one thing. What's that? How far I'm willing to go to keep you safe. His eyes were cold, and Emma saw the killer beneath the man who'd kissed her so gently. I've made calls. By tonight, Marcus Webb will be persona non grata in every criminal organization from here to Tokyo. The Yakuza won't back him. The Colombians won't help him. He'll be alone. You did all that in 3 hours? I did all that in 3 years, building alliances and leverage for a moment exactly like this. Marcus thought you were my weakness. Vincent pulled her close, and she went willingly, needing his warmth. He's right, but he didn't realize you're also my strength. You're the reason I've been preparing for war, the reason I've made myself untouchable. Because I knew eventually someone would figure out what you mean to me. Emma looked up at him, this man who'd orchestrated 3 years of protection she'd never known about, who'd just survived an assassination attempt, and looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered. I don't understand you. Any of this. You don't have to understand it, Emma. You just have to trust it. Trust me. He kissed her softly, tasting like smoke and danger. 5 more days. Can you give me that? Standing in the ruins of his estate, surrounded by men who'd killed for her, held by a man who'd burned the world for her, Emma knew her answer was already changing, but she wasn't ready to admit it yet. 5 more days. But Vincent? Next time, let me help. I'm not some damsel who needs saving. I save people. It's what I do. His smile was fierce and proud. I know. That's why I love you. Day 2 was over. Emma had survived her first mob hit. Only 5 more days to go. What could possibly happen next? Oh, sweetheart, everything. Absolutely everything. Day 3 brought an unexpected visitor. Sofia Castellano, Vincent's ex-fiancée and the daughter of New York's most powerful crime family. She walked into the estate like she owned it, dripping diamonds and disdain, and looked at Emma like she was something stuck to her Louboutin heel. So you're the waitress? Sophia's accent was pure Manhattan money. Vincent, darling, I expected you to have better taste. Emma had dealt with entitled customers her entire working life. This was nothing new. And you must be the ex. Tell me, does being bitter age you faster, or were you always this haggard? Vincent choked on his coffee. Sophia's face turned an impressive shade of crimson. I like her, Antonio said from the doorway, grinning. She's got bite. Sophia ignored him, focusing on Vincent with laser precision. My father sent me. The commission is concerned about this war with Marcus Webb. It's bad for business. They want it ended. Peacefully. Tell the commission I'll handle Marcus my way. Vincent's voice was ice. Your way involves burning down half of Seattle over a girl. Sophia's eyes narrowed. You were never this reckless when we were together. She's making you weak, Vincent, and weak men don't survive in our world. Emma had heard enough. You know what I think? I think you're jealous. Vincent didn't burn down cities for you, and that eats at you. Well, sorry, sweetie, but some women inspire poetry. You apparently inspired indifference. The slap came fast, but Emma was faster. Years of dodging drunk customers paid off. She caught Sophia's wrist mid-swing. Try that again, and we'll see how well your manicure holds up when I break your fingers. Enough. Vincent stood between them, but Emma saw the pride in his eyes. Sophia, tell your father the commission can stay out of Seattle. This territory is mine, and I'll defend it how I see fit. Emma is not negotiable. Not now, not ever. You're choosing her over everything we built? Over the alliance between our families? Sophia looked genuinely shocked. I'm choosing her over everything. Period. He took Emma's hand. You should go. Sophia stared at them for a long moment. Then she laughed, cold and calculating. You're going to get her killed, Vincent. You know that, right? Marcus won't stop. The Colombians won't stop. And eventually your enemies will do the math. Kill the girl, destroy the man. She's a target that will never disappear as long as she's with you. The words hit Emma like bullets. Because Sophia was right. Every day with Vincent put her in more danger. Every moment she stayed meant someone else wanted her dead. This wasn't romance. It was a death sentence with an expiration date. Get out! Vincent's voice was lethal. Sophia left with a final look at Emma. Not quite pity, not quite triumph. Something between the two that felt like prophecy. When they were alone, Emma pulled her hand from Vincent's. She's right. No, she's not. Vincent, look at me. She forced him to meet her eyes. In 3 days, you've survived one attack, burned bridges with multiple organizations, and made me a target for every criminal in the Pacific Northwest. How does this end? How do we survive this? Together. He cupped her face. Emma, I've been alone my entire adult life. I've built empires and destroyed enemies, and never once felt like I had something worth dying for. Then I saw you punch a man twice your size for defending a stranger, and suddenly I had a reason. You're my reason. Yes, it's dangerous. Yes, people will try to hurt you. But I've spent 3 years preparing for this. I have contingencies for every threat, alliances in every city, resources beyond what you can imagine. We survive because I won't accept any other option. Emma wanted to believe him. God, she wanted it so badly. But standing there, she felt the weight of every threat, every enemy, every person who died today protecting her. What if I'm not strong enough for this world? You saved a dying man in an alley during a storm without hesitation. You faced down Marcus Webb and didn't flinch. You just threatened to break Sofia Castellanos' fingers. Vincent smiled. Emma, you're the strongest person I know. You just don't see it yet. 4 more days. She leaned into him, exhausted. 4 more days to figure out if I can live with this. 4 more days. He held her like she was the only thing keeping him standing. Maybe she was. Maybe they were keeping each other upright in a world trying to tear them apart. Day 3 was over. Emma had survived meeting the ex and understanding the true cost of Vincent's love. 4 days remained. 4 days to decide if she was brave enough to choose danger over safety, chaos over peace, a monster over a normal life. The clock was still ticking. And honey, the hardest tests were still to come. Day 4 shattered what remained of Emma's normal life. Her apartment building burned to the ground at 3 a.m., arson, obvious and brutal. Everything she owned, every memory of her mother, her nursing textbooks, the nightlight that had comforted her for years, gone. Marcus Webb's message was clear. You have nothing left but Vincent Russo. Emma stood in front of the smoldering ruins at dawn, Vincent beside her, and felt something inside her break, then harden, then transform into rage. He burned my mother's things. Her voice was eerily calm. The quilt she made me, her recipe book, the photos. She turned to Vincent. I want him to pay. Emma, no, you've been protecting me, fighting for me. But this is my fight now. He made it personal. So tell me how to hurt him. Tell me how to make him suffer. Vincent studied her face, and whatever he saw there made him nod slowly. Okay, but we do this smart. Marcus wants you angry and reckless. We give him neither. Over the next 12 hours, Vincent taught Emma the art of strategic revenge. It wasn't about violence, it was about information. Marcus Webb had built his reputation on being untouchable, but everyone has secrets. And Vincent had been collecting them for years. He has a sister, Catherine Webb, living in Portland under an assumed name with her daughter. Marcus has been sending her money for 10 years, money his Yakuza employers don't know about, money he's been skimming from their operations. Vincent showed Emma the evidence. We expose this. The Yakuza kills him for us. Why haven't you used this before? Because killing Marcus accomplishes nothing if someone worse takes his place, but discrediting him, making him worthless to his allies, that creates a power vacuum we can fill with someone controllable. Vincent's smile was sharp. Welcome to the game, Emma. It's not about strength, it's about leverage. They spent the day building the case, gathering evidence, making calls. Emma discovered she had a talent for this, reading between lines, finding connections, understanding the psychology of manipulation. Maybe nursing school had prepared her for this after all. Understanding people, finding weak points, knowing exactly where to apply pressure to get results. By sunset, they had everything. Vincent made one phone call to his contact in the Yakuza, and Marcus Webb's fate was sealed. Within hours, Marcus would be called back to Tokyo to answer for his theft. He'd disappear into a system that didn't forgive betrayal. Emma had avenged her mother's memory without firing a shot. How do you feel? Vincent asked as they watched the sunset over Seattle. Powerful. Emma surprised herself with the answer. Is that wrong? No, it's honest. He pulled her close. This is who I am, Emma. This is my world. Not just the danger and the violence, but the strategy, the power, the control. Can you live with that? Can you live with who you become when you're in it? She thought about it. Really thought. The Emma from a week ago would have been horrified. But that Emma had also been struggling, drowning, losing pieces of herself every day. This Emma, the one who'd just orchestrated the downfall of a dangerous man, who'd learned to navigate the criminal underworld, who'd discovered strength she didn't know she had. This Emma felt alive. I don't know what I can live with anymore, but I know I can't go back to who I was. That girl doesn't exist anymore. She looked up at him. You changed me, Vincent. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? That depends on what you choose to do with it. He kissed her forehead. 3 more days, Emma. 3 more days to decide who you want to be. That night, as Emma lay in bed, her new bed, in Vincent's house, because she had nowhere else to go, she realized something terrifying. She wasn't counting down the days until she could leave. She was counting down the days until she had to decide to stay. And somewhere between the gunfire and the strategic revenge and the way Vincent looked at her like she was his entire world, she'd started wanting to stay. Day 4 was over. Emma had lost everything from her old life and discovered something new in herself. 3 days remained. 3 days to accept the monster she was becoming. 3 days to decide if love was worth the cost of her soul. The girl who'd saved a stranger in the rain was gone. Someone new was rising from the ashes of that burning apartment. Someone harder, someone dangerous, someone who could stand beside Vincent Russo and not flinch. The question was, did she want to be that person? Time would tell. And honey, time was almost up. Day 5 brought the revelation Emma had been simultaneously dreading and expecting. She was in Vincent's office reviewing security footage, because apparently that was her life now, when she noticed something odd, a pattern in the timestamps. Vincent had been watching her, yes, but not just watching. He'd been orchestrating. The college boys who harassed the veteran 3 years ago. Emma's voice was quiet. You didn't just scare them. You arranged that whole situation, didn't you? The veteran was your plant. Vincent looked up from his desk, and his silence was answer enough. The landlord who tried to evict me, the councilman's son, the nursing school rejection. Her hands shook as she connected the pieces. You didn't just protect me from these threats, Vincent. You created some of them so you could save me from them. So I'd need you. Emma, don't. She stood, rage and betrayal flooding through her. Don't lie to me. Not now. I've seen the patterns. The timing is too perfect. You've been manipulating my life for 3 years, creating problems so you could be the solution. Is any of this real? Or am I just some sick project? Vincent moved toward her, And for the first time, Emma saw something like fear in his eyes. The threats were real, Emma. I didn't create Marcus Webb or the Colombians or the Yakuza. I didn't burn down your building. I didn't make Dr. Morrison corrupt. The world was already full of people who wanted to hurt you. I just strategically revealed them, controlled the timing. That's still manipulation. Yes, his voice cracked. Yes, I manipulated situations. I moved pieces on a board to keep you safe while making you see how much you needed protection. Because, Emma, you wouldn't have accepted help any other way. You've spent your entire life refusing to need anyone, refusing to ask for anything, drowning slowly and calling it swimming. I had to make you see the water rising. By lying to me? By creating situations where I'd be grateful to you? She felt sick. Everything, every moment of feeling seen, feeling saved, feeling like she mattered, had been orchestrated. The college boys were planning to follow you home that night anyway. I just made sure someone intervened. The veteran was my man, yes, but the threat was real. The landlord was already planning to evict you. I just accelerated the timeline and ensured he faced consequences. Vincent ran his hands through his hair. Emma, I'm not claiming moral high ground here. What I did was manipulation. It was controlling. It was wrong by every conventional standard. But it kept you alive. It kept you from being another statistic, another good person crushed by a world that doesn't care. And yes, it made you need me, because I needed you to see what I already knew. That alone, we're both drowning. Together, we survive. Emma wanted to scream, to rage, to hate him. But the terrible truth was she understood. Every word made sense in the twisted logic of Vincent's world. And hadn't she benefited from his manipulation? Wasn't she safer, stronger, more alive than she'd been a week ago? The kiss. Her voice broke. Yesterday, when I kissed you, was I choosing it, or was I programmed to choose it? Emma, no. He crossed to her, desperate. Your feelings are real. I can't control that. I can't make you love me. I can only hope that by showing you a world where you matter, where you're protected and powerful and valued, you'd choose to stay. Maybe that's still manipulation, but your heart, your choice, that's all you. She stared at him, this man who'd saved her and betrayed her in equal measure. I don't know what's real anymore. This is real. He took her hand, placed it over his racing heart. The fact that I'd die before I let anyone hurt you. The fact that I've spent 3 years building a fortress around someone who didn't know I existed. The fact that seeing you happy is the only thing that's brought me peace since I was 16 years old. You can call it obsession. You can call it manipulation. But Emma, it's the closest thing to love I know how to give. She stood there, feeling his heartbeat, looking into eyes that held desperate honesty. He wasn't apologizing. Wasn't making excuses. He was showing her who he was, manipulative, controlling, dangerous, and asking if she could love him anyway. 2 more days. She pulled her hand back. You have 2 more days. And Vincent, no more lies, no more manipulation. If I stay, knowing exactly who you are and what you've done. All of it. All of it. He nodded. I'll tell you everything. Every choice, every manipulation, every body buried. And then you decide if the monster is worth the love he offers. Day 5 ended with Emma finally seeing the full picture. The man she'd been falling for was exactly what everyone warned her about. Controlling, manipulative, dangerous. But he was also the only person who'd ever cared enough to fight for her. 2 days remained. 2 days to weigh truth against lies, love against manipulation, the life she'd lost against the life she could have. The choice was hers. It had always been hers. The question was, what would she choose? Day 6 was confession day. Vincent kept his promise and told Emma everything. Every kill, 37 men over 15 years, all of them threats to his family or empire. Every business deal, some legitimate, most not, all profitable. Every manipulation, including ones she hadn't discovered yet. He laid himself bare, and Emma listened with a nurse's clinical detachment, filing away each revelation. The hospice nurses who helped your mother? Vincent's voice was steady, unflinching. I paid them extra to give her the best care. They didn't know it came from me. But yes, I influenced that. My friend Sarah getting that promotion at her job? Emma already knew the answer. Her boss owed me a favor. I called it in. He looked at her directly. No shame. Emma, for 3 years, every good thing in your life had my fingerprints on it. Some barely, some completely. I made myself indispensable without you knowing I existed. That's sociopathic. Yes. No argument. I'm a functional sociopath who fixated on a woman I couldn't have. I channeled that obsession into protection instead of possession. That doesn't make it healthy. It just makes it less destructive than it could have been. They sat in his office, the door locked, the estate quiet around them. Outside, Vincent's men patrolled. Marcus Webb was gone, recalled to Tokyo and reportedly dealt with. The Colombians had backed off. The Yakuza had sent expensive gifts as apology for Marcus's actions. The war was over. Emma was safe. And she hated that she was grateful to him for it. Tell me about the first time you saw me. She needed to understand the beginning. Vincent's expression softened. 3 years ago, October 15th. You'd just gotten off a double shift, it was raining, and you were walking home. Those college boys were following you, drunk and loud, saying disgusting things. The veteran, my man, Marcus, was supposed to intervene. But before he could, you turned around and punched the ringleader in the face, broke his nose, told them if they wanted to fight someone, pick on people their own size. I remember that night. Emma had been terrified but refused to show it. I was in my car, watching to make sure Marcus did his job, but you didn't need saving. You saved yourself, and then you helped the veteran anyway, thinking he was real, giving him money for food even though you barely had enough for rent. Vincent's voice carried something like awe. I'd spent 15 years surrounded by people who wanted something from me. Money, power, protection. You were the first person I'd seen in years who just wanted to help someone. No angle, no scheme, just kindness. So you became obsessed. So I fell in love. He stood pacing. I know the difference, Emma. Obsession is wanting to own something. Love is wanting it to flourish even if it's not with you. For 3 years, I made sure you flourished. If you'd fallen in love with someone else, I would have protected him too. Made sure he was worthy. If you'd moved to another city, my protection would have followed. I wasn't trying to trap you in Seattle. I was trying to keep you alive long enough to see what you'd become. And what have I become? Emma's voice cracked. I've orchestrated a man's destruction. I've learned to read security patterns. I've accepted violence as normal. I've fallen for my stalker. What does that make me? Alive. Vincent knelt in front of her chair. Emma, you've spent your whole life making yourself small so you'd fit in a world that wanted you quiet. You dimmed your light so it wouldn't attract attention. But you were never meant to be small. You were meant to be fierce, powerful, dangerous when necessary. I didn't create that. I just gave you a world where it was safe to be big. She looked at him. Really looked. Saw the monster everyone warned her about. But also saw the man who'd protected her, who'd killed for her, who'd burned his entire world down when someone threatened her. Was that love? Or was it the most beautiful cage ever built? Tomorrow is day 7. One more day. Tomorrow I decide. Tomorrow you decide. He took her hand carefully, like she might shatter. But Emma, whatever you choose, know this. I'll respect it. If you want to leave, I'll give you a new identity. Money to start over. Protection from a distance you'll never notice. You'll be free. Or if you stay, I'll give you everything. My empire, my loyalty, my life. You'll be my partner, not my possession. My equal, not my prize. How do I know you mean it? How do I trust anything you say? You don't. You take a leap of faith based on 3 years of evidence. I've lied, yes. Manipulated, yes. But have I ever broken a promise to you? Have I ever let you get hurt when I could prevent it? Have I ever asked you to be anything other than exactly who you are? He stood. I'm a monster, Emma. But I'm your monster. The question is whether you want to be mine. He left her alone in the office to think. Emma sat in the silence, weighing impossible choices. Tomorrow was day 7. Tomorrow she'd give Vincent her answer. Tomorrow she'd choose between safety and danger, normal and extraordinary, the life she'd planned and the life that terrified and thrilled her. One more day, one more night, then everything would change, one way or another. Day 7. Decision day. Emma woke to find Vincent already gone, a note on his pillow. I'm giving you space to choose. Whatever you decide, meet me at Romano's Diner at 8 p.m., where it all began. V. She spent the day alone in the estate, walking through rooms that had become familiar, the study where she'd learned strategy, the safe room where she'd hidden during the attack, the kitchen where Vincent had made her coffee and told her she was magnificent. 7 days. It felt like a lifetime. At 7:45 p.m., Emma made her choice. She put on jeans and her old Romano's uniform. Someone had saved it from her apartment before it burned, probably Vincent's doing. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Same face, different eyes, harder, stronger, alive. Romano's diner was closed when she arrived, but the lights were on, and Vincent sat in booth 7, looking more nervous than she'd ever seen him. This man who commanded armies looked terrified of her answer. Emma slid into the booth across from him. For a long moment, neither spoke. "I've been thinking about what you said." Emma's voice was steady. "About being small versus being big. About dimming my light. You were right. I've spent my whole life apologizing for taking up space, making myself convenient, agreeable, small. Emma, let me finish." She took a breath. "What you did was wrong. The manipulation, the stalking, the control. In any normal world, I should run screaming. But we don't live in a normal world, do we? We live in a world where good people get crushed, where being kind makes you a target, where sometimes you need a monster on your side to survive." Vincent's jaw tightened. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I don't want to be small anymore. I don't want to dim my light. I don't want to spend my life serving coffee and swallowing dreams." She reached across the table, taking his hand. "I want to be powerful. I want to matter. I want to stand beside someone who sees me as an equal, not as something to protect or possess." "You want to stay." His voice carried wonder and disbelief. "I want to stay, but on my terms." Emma's grip tightened. "I'm not your possession. I'm not your damsel. I'm your partner. That means I learn everything. I get trained in everything. I'm part of decisions, part of operations, part of your empire. You don't protect me from your world. You bring me into it fully. Or this doesn't work." Vincent stared at her like she was a miracle. "You want in? Completely in?" "Completely. I've spent 7 days learning I'm good at this. Strategy, manipulation, understanding people's weaknesses. Maybe that makes me a monster too. But Vincent, I'd rather be a monster who matters than a saint who drowns." She smiled, fierce and sure. "So yes, I'm choosing you. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing to be big instead of small, but you have to choose me too, as a partner, not a prize." He was around the booth in seconds, pulling her up, kissing her like she was oxygen. "Partners, equals, always." He pulled back, eyes intense. "Emma Chen, I'm asking you properly this time. No manipulation. No games. Will you stay with me? Build an empire with me? Be my partner in every way that matters?" "Yes." No hesitation. "But Vincent, if you ever lie to me again, if you ever manipulate me without my knowledge, I walk, and I take half your empire with me. Deal?" His laugh was pure joy. "Deal. God, I love you." "I know. You've been stalking me for 3 years." She kissed him again. "But here's the thing. I think I love you too. The real you. Monster and all." Outside Romano's diner, where it all began, Vincent Russo and Emma Chen sealed their fate with a kiss that tasted like danger and promise and irrevocable choice. The waitress and the mafia boss. The saint and the sinner. The light and the dark. 6 months later, Emma graduated from nursing school. Vincent had made one call and suddenly her admission was reinstated. But she didn't go into nursing. Instead, she became something new. Vincent's right hand, his strategist, his conscience and his courage. They rebuilt his empire together, making it sharper, smarter, more efficient. People called her the Ice Queen, Vincent's secret weapon, the woman who could smile while destroying you. And Emma? She wore the title with pride. She'd been small for so long. Now she was magnificent, dangerous, powerful, alive. She'd saved a stranger in the rain and found a monster in the darkness. And the monster had shown her how to be monstrous too, in all the best and worst ways. Was it healthy? Probably not. Was it love? Absolutely. The twisted, complicated, dangerous kind that changes you forever. The kind that makes you choose darkness over light because the darkness sees you for who you really are. Emma Chen had made her choice, and she never looked back. Sometimes the monster doesn't eat you. Sometimes you become his queen. And honey, That's exactly what she did.